Hello and welcome to today's Multichrome Monday. If you're new here, my name is Millie and this is a series I do here on my channel where I feature different multichromes from all different kinds of brands. I do swatches, swatch comparisons, tutorials, anything and everything that has to do with multichromes. And today I'm going to be swatching all of the new shades that Touch of Glam has recently come out with that are part of the Unnamed collection. And these are all the shades. They did send these to me in PR, so thank you so much to Touch of Glam Beauty for sending me these. And I do have an affiliate code with Touch of Glam Beauty. If you're interested in shopping, I will put it up on the screen, and of course I will also be doing some swatch comparisons. We've got a large variety here, but there are some shades within just even this collection that are a little bit similar to each other, so I'll be swatching them in color, so all the pinks kind of together, all the purples together, all the greens together, etc, etc. I hope you will find that helpful, so let's get right into it. And first up is this set of pinky shades. These are all similar from the same extension of the Unnamed collection, and then I'll add some that are similar from other collections, but these two especially so similar. Definitely don't think you need both of these. I think if you use these on the lid, you would probably not be able to tell even a difference. I think the main difference is that this top shade has more of a base to it, so it just looks a little bit darker. It looks like there's some base going on, and also the tone is a little bit more purple than pink compared to this one. And then all of these other shades are pretty different. So I've added 3 shades: Damsel in Distress, A Touch of Glam, and Copycats. And these are from the most recent previous collection. And none of these are really close to any of these. I do want to mention that the texture of these feels different from these. These just feel so silky. Like they literally are just, I don't even know how to explain it. Do you see just how smooth and how metallic? I would say mostly this one, and this one feel like that. This next set is so magical. I love this shade. So this one is different from the shade I swatched in the previous round, which went from pink to yellow. This one is more predominantly yellow to like a reddish pink. It is so stunning. There's also like a green undertone to it on an angle. And then this top shade is just so beautiful, so metallic. And so is this shade down here. This shade is not too shifty, but it does have a lot of like different flecks throughout it as well. And it is definitely dimensional, but I'm not sure if I see like that many tones in it. These just feel so smooth and silky. It's just amazing, and the color payoff is stunning. I think this one really stands out to me. It's just such an interesting shade. We've got flashes of purple, green, blue, and silver. It's a really interesting shade. Really loving that one. These two are similar, but the shade doesn't have the same reflex of gold or yellow. But I definitely would say just pick one of these top two if you were looking for a baby blue like this. And I think you could sheer these out too if you wanted to, these top two at least. For the comparisons, I just added Bora Bora Ain't That Boring. And it's actually interesting because I feel like Bora Bora Ain't That Boring is basically this shade without that darker base in it. Like some of the flex and some of the shift looks a little bit similar, but it doesn't have that darker base. And I don't think it's a black base. It's more of like a grungy green base. If you're a green lover, then these are for you. I mean, just look at all the different green options. This one has like a pinky copper tone to it, and this one has a darker base. It's again just like, it's like a browner base almost. And then this shade has a red base. And this one is so stunning, so dimensional. And this one is just very opaque. These are all extremely silky, just like the other shades. I'm completely blown away by these textures. It's just so smooth. These two shades are very similar in tone as well as just shift, and they don't seem to have too much of a different kind of base, so I would say pick one of each. I think this one is pretty unique out of all of them, and so is this one. Next up are the bluish greens, so these are, or like teals. Definitely some similar shades here. These two are pretty different from all of these. This shade is very interesting. It has a little bit of like a grayish base, and it has silver flecks throughout it. It's so beautiful. This one also a little bit on the grungy side. Reminds me actually one of the other shades from the previous swatches. This one should have probably went with the greens. And then these three very, very similar. The shade is more heavily blue. You can see, you can't, just kidding. In the pan, it looks more blue than green. And once it's swatched, definitely see the blue more predominantly. There's also like a green and a purple. These two shades almost the same, like really, really similar. I think the tone is a little bit different and the shift of the tone is a little bit different as well. Both of these do remind me of Verte and Big Bang, which are from Clionadh and Terra Moons. In terms of, they seem to have more of a gray base, so does this one. So these all would be really beautiful. You could easily blend these into the crease. These are definitely not like black based multichrome. These are more like gray based or deep iridescent from Clionadh, if you're familiar with those specific formulas. Except for the purples, and then this is kind of like a darker magenta pink, and oh my goodness, this shade is really something else. I'm really curious to see if I have anything similar to this, but from just the tone and from what I see, I don't think so. And again, same for these swatches. I cannot stress enough the way that these feel, like when you're swatching them, they just feel so absolutely silky. Very smooth, very metallic. None of these are textured in any sort of way. They're just so metallic, so beautiful, but still shiny, and they have like a sparkle effect to it without having a sparkly texture, if that makes sense. So let's talk about some of these shades. This top one has a darker gray, almost black base, but not quite. As you can see, it's not quite like a jeweled multichrome, but it does have a darker base to it. The shade below it does have a little bit of a grayish base maybe to it, but it's very subtle. I think you could definitely sheer this one out, and you could potentially sheer these other two shades out as well. And in terms of similarity, I think these three shades are the most similar. However, this one is darker, but these two are very similar. The shift is just a tiny bit different. I think the tone is a little bit different, but I would say go with one or the other. So now into some comparison swatches. We've got the 33rd here versus Venus from Terra Moons Cosmetics, which is a direct dupe to Vermilion from Clionadh Cosmetics. And these are actually really similar, which I kind of thought they would be. I think Venus shifts like faster, and it's like a different, slightly different kind of shift. You can see right here, just this one looks more like peachy, and this looks like a lime green yellow. And I think 33rd is just a bit more sheer, but you definitely don't need both of these. And then we have Crimson Eclipse from Terra Moons, and then the 13th, and I thought these might be a little similar. They're really not. The tone of the 13th is just so unique. It's very interesting, and Crimson Eclipse is also just like a little bit more sparkly versus like very smooth like 13th, but these are not dupes by any means. Except for comparisons, we've got the 20th and Pixie Sticks, and totally different, not just like the way they look, but the texture of them feels different. Pixie Sticks feels much drier, way more sheer. The shift is different. It is predominantly a gold versus pink, and I feel like the 20th has a predominant pink in it, but also like a green and yellow. And then the 11th is not even close to Helix Nebula. I thought maybe something about it was going to be a little bit similar, but they're totally different. But I think both of these are very unique. Except I wanted to compare to these two bluey iridescent shades. Oh, they're so beautiful. So not even close to any dupe. I think maybe these two are kind of similar, but like not really, because these two are much more sheer. So Everlasting, Gobstoppers, and Nerds are totally sheer, different kind of shift, not even similar at all. I think the 18th and 15th you could sheer out a little bit, but they're really not even close, and they're just so metallic, so metallic. while I think these two shades from Devinah are just a little bit more like sparkly. And so next up we have some purple comparisons. I thought Glam might be a nice comparison to some of these other shades, but Glam has its own just like purple base, while 21st and 27th seem to have like a yellowish gray base. Like they just look different. They also have a different shift from Glam, so not even close. I think these are more similar to each other than anything else. Tidal Flare, just thought I would swatch it in here. I was like, maybe in the pan it looks kind of similar, but no, it's totally different. Next up, more purples. Definitely some very similar shades here between the Temperature Rising and the 34th, and even Already In and the 34th. Though Already In has a different shift. It has got like flecks of greenish blue teal in it. 29th is also pretty similar to Temperature Rising. I think 26 is probably the least similar one in here. It's much darker and much more cooler toned. And then Crystal Ball is very similar to some of these as well, but it is just a bit brighter, a little bit lighter. And I think you can see the shifting is just a little bit different. Here's some blue comparisons. I thought 30th and Cosmic Dancer are pretty similar, but they're actually pretty different. Cosmic Dancer shifts to a different tone of purple, and it has like a brownish base to it, while the 30th doesn't. And then Azure is totally just different from both of these. It is also just less shiny. I think Cosmic Dancer seems very, very beautiful metallic, and so does the 30th. But Azure, it just has a little bit less shine, but it is still a beautiful shade. Next up we have some greens. I thought these would be some similar tones. While the greens are a little bit similar, like straight on between Draco, Akia, 31st and 22nd, I feel like there's still, the shift is a little bit different and the texture is totally different. The Devinah shades are just, they don't feel like silky smooth, and they're like sparkly versus super smooth and metallic. So I mean the formula alone is very, very different. And 31st and 22nd both look like they shift to a blue purple, so that's also a little bit different. I think Akia does shift, so that one would be the most similar. But again, you can just see from the textures they look different. Next up are the green comparisons. There's definitely some more similar shades down here, further down. These two similarities, which are between Touch of Glam. Rainbow Blossom isn't even close to any of these. And texture, again, a bit different. 8th is also completely different, and so is the 16th. This one also sticks out as being different. Ochre and Titan are pretty similar, and so is the 23rd to that. So I don't know if there's like necessarily direct dupes. I think the tones are just slightly different, but they're all very, very similar. By no means would you like want all of these. Obviously they're just so similar. They're probably going to look very similar on the lid, if not the same. Also, it's going to depend on what kind of mattes you pair them with. So those are all the swatches and the swatch comparisons. I did realize after I finished filming that there were some shades that I didn't pick from the Clionadh collection, but honestly I just kind of quickly went through after I swatched the last set, which was these greenish shades, and none of them really were similar to some of the Clionadh shades, so I really can say that these are very, very unique. Next to Terra Moons, I think Touch of Glam has some of the most unique multichromes. Of course, there's a couple of, overlaps within their collection, but otherwise I think that there's some very standout, beautiful shades. And that's so exciting because there are definitely a lot of just staple multichrome eyeshadows you can find between all different kinds of brands. But if you have a larger collection such as myself, you're kind of looking for those very special, just something else kind of multichromes. And for the last time, I would like to point out the texture of these. They're just so absolutely smooth. And if you don't like anything chunky, if you want just a really beautiful super foil metallic on the lid, these will be perfect for you. And look out for some looks. I will be doing some tutorials for my YouTube channel as well as on my reels and TikToks, so make sure you're following me on those as well, because there is quite a bit of shades to do some tutorials with. So let me know in the comments below which shade is your favorite, and if you plan on picking any of these up. Did you already pick them up? I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to my channel, I would love it if you subscribe. There's so much indie makeup content. There's lots of shiny, metallic, sparkly eyeshadow content uploading my channel, and much more to come. You don't want to miss out. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.